It's Monday, May 10th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about Twitter and then go off on a tangent for a while.
Let's do this. So I was biking over the bridge, like you do.
Like you do. Which bridge?
Queensboro Bridge.
No, so the normal bridge.
Yep. And Sunday. And there was a lady walking the other direction. And I didn't notice her till I got pretty close, maybe like 10 feet away. And she was fumbling around with something. And then she kept walking after she stopped fumbling.
Now, I've often fumbled with things while I walk. I mean, I'll fumble with my wallet, try to pull the Metro card out of there. Maybe
But
my
in the
phone's
middle of the
ringing.
bridge, it's like, what do you need to fumble with in the middle of the bridge?
Sometimes my phone. Maybe the phone's ringing. You got to answer that.
I don't know. But anyway, she just stopped fumbling and kept walking. So I noticed that near where she was fumbling, pretty much in the exact spot, was monies, like $1. So I pick up the dollar and I bike over and I'm like, hey, here's your $1. And she just keeps walking. So I think, oh, maybe she didn't hear me or notice me because I wasn't right in front of her. I was sort of to the side and I couldn't tell.
So you said it like that, straight up, just, here's your $1.
Yeah.
As opposed to, excuse me, miss, I think you dropped this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she thought, I don't know. I could foresee if a stranger came up to me and I didn't realize I dropped money and they said, here's your $1, I would probably ignore them.
Anyways, then I was like, you dropped this $1. You sure you don't want it back? And she didn't say anything and she had sunglasses on and she wouldn't, so I couldn't even it would look like some crazy person who was like hiding from the world. And she just eventually she sort of stopped and cowered. And I was like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right, I'll just keep your $1. And so I kept her $1.
It's weird because I've run into that too, like the cowering. I've run a couple of times in the last few months. I for whatever reason have to talk to someone in the street. Like a situation comes up, and when I have talked to certain people, they cower. Like they literally back, and then they hunch their shoulders down and avert their eyes from me. Was that what she did? Back, eyes down, eh?
I couldn't tell what the eyes were doing. But,
all right, because of the crazy sunglasses.
Yeah, and, she had, a thing over her head. She was
Maybe she didn't speak English?
I don't know, but I was holding out $1.
At least it's not like Beacon. The last time I interacted with one of the crazy people on the streets of Beacon, I didn't really... No, it was more of a kind of noise. Literally, I was rollerblading, and there's a woman. She's walking toward me, and she kind of looks at me, and I smile at her like, morning. And she hissed at me. The most horrifying hiss I have ever heard come out of a human being.
Maybe it was someone like us who was just trying to be silly.
I wish I could believe, I wish that were true. I wish I expected that. I believe it was a legitimate hiss. I believe that hiss was intentional and came from some deep meaning, some deep hiss.
All right.
There was no meta to it.
What is up with these people? Anyway.
I don't know. I didn't run into any crazy people when I was rollerblading over the weekend. Actually... It is so different rollerblading a long distance in the city compared to Michigan. I mean, I went all the way down to Brooklyn, through Hipsterville, Williamsburg, across the bridge, other Hipsterville. Went through some areas where Hazids gave me dirty looks, but they didn't throw anything at me.
Lucky. Could have gotten some free tomato.
I know. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was just rollerblading around down there. And then I go through that neighborhood where there was the bike path, and then they took it away, and then the hipsters repainted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no one threw anything at me, but they gave me dirty looks.
That's what they'll do.
It was the stink eye.
Stink eye. It's the evil eye.
Are you sure? Was it the full-on evil eye or just the stink eye? Because there is a difference. Nah, Hasidic, I'm pretty sure it was the evil eye.
Anyway.
Get the stink eye from a farmer. Maybe a gypsy. Of course, gypsies also have the evil eye.
And what do you get from... who gives you the lazy eye?
So, we got any news? We definitely didn't have a good idea for a show to do today.
No.
Well, tonight.
Well, kind of, but this is not really news. But basically, this is dude, and he made a blog post, right? And I replied to the blog post.
Like you do.
And then I got a weird email about my reply to the blog post that was really clearly from someone who was just, I don't know. But
well, wasn't that the email from me that I forwarded?
Yeah. But basically, because someone emailed me about the blog post, it stuck in my mind. Usually, you don't remember when you comment on something. You just sort of do it, you know? So now I remembered the stupid comment. So now I remember this post, and why not? Let's discuss the post.
You know, it's interesting because with Twitter, I kind of just throw stuff out there, and then like, I don't know, a week later, I'll randomly just look at my ads. And I see all these people answering, and I have no idea what I said that prompted them to respond.
Yeah. But basically, this guy makes a long blog post, and basically his complaint is that in New York City, right, that the technology people are not entrepreneurially minded, right? It's like everyone wants to be an employee. They don't want to be a co-founder. And
Are you kidding?
Wait. And that he also says that there's all these, business people out there who are non-technical, and they're looking for technical co-founders, and they can't find them. They're really hard to get.
I'm right here.
Wait. And, he goes on to say all this stuff, right? And basically, my response to him was, all right, dude. Well, the responses pretty much are in multiple categories, right? The category number one is, okay, so you're some business dude with an idea, right? And you're looking for a technological person to help you make your idea reality. And you don't actually have any money to offer. You're just offering equity and stock.
Equity and stock are not how to pay me.
Right, exactly. So, right? So he's like, and we had to compete with Wall Street for, employees. Here we go. After people have, what is this? I can't find the exact quote right at this moment, but
can you paraphrase?
Basically, he's like, how come people in New York, you can't sway them with, stock and equity? They don't realize how valuable it is.
I think I can answer that. I think we can because we have money. We have money all over the place. Right. People give us money to do stuff. You can't give us not money and expect us to do stuff unless it's something we want to do anyway. Plus, what is this tech thing? Like, what is just in general? Because he sounds a lot like the people who email Neil Gaiman and they're like, I got a story idea. You want to write it for me?
Yeah. So here's my post was basically, I'm a developer in New York City. I would very much like to work at a startup. If it were the right one, I could potentially be very exciting. Not that the job now I have is bad. It's actually pretty great. However, I think a lot of people here pointed out exactly the problem. There's pretty much 0% chance I will risk my livelihood on someone else's dreams. I'm not even in the financial sector, but I'm doing all right. I have rent to pay. If you give me equity or stock options, there goes rent and groceries. That's just not going to happen. No way. I like eating more than I like you.
What's funny is he forgets the very basic thing that people like us, we definitely want to do that exact thing. Like, that is what we all want to do. But we already have ideas. We just don't have time or people like him to come and do our ideas.
The only thing, right, that for a tech person, the only thing that a co-founder who is non-technical can offer to a technical person, right? We have ideas. We also have skills. The only thing that you can possibly offer us is enough actual monies that we don't have to give back, that we aren't like lent monies or capital monies, just given monies, right, that are our monies, so that we don't have to work and we can work on our idea all day instead. That's the only thing you can possibly offer us, right? You'd be like, oh, I'll give you some equity. It's like, I have an idea. Would you like equity in it? Sure. Do this work for me for nothing. Go be my guest. I have a million ideas. I'll give you equity in all of them. Let's go. We want actual monies. And apparently, like the people elsewhere, right? Apparently, it's easy to find people in San Francisco or wherever else to do this. And I guess those people are just more free-spirited or risk-taking, or the cost of living is lower, or I don't know what's up with those people and why they're willing to do it. But maybe I think just New York people aren't stupid. We don't work for no money. You got to pay.
Huh.
But yeah, it's I think that there's like this whole entrepreneurial thing that's sort of gotten really tied in with tech things. Like if you read any sort of tech stuff, Hacker News or whatever, like half the stuff is like entrepreneurial stuff and half of it is tech stuff. Like there's been like this intermingling that's been going on, right?
Well, I mean, look at the original tech boom, the one that we avoided the following bust by going into college during.
Yep.
That was all.
But we also avoided our chance to go in on the boom and leave before the bust by being in high school during.
Because we were definitely, it's sad because I feel like we were at least some of the people who, in a boom like that, would have quit the second they stopped paying us.
Yeah, pretty much.
As opposed to working for nothing for any amount of time.
Yep. No, but
if only.
this is this intermingling has been going on. And I think the fundamental reason that it comes up is because a tech person is a smart person, and a smart person wants to, they want to be their own boss. They want to be their own person, do what they want to do, right? They don't
do what I want.
They don't want to do what someone else wants to do. But at the same time, they also want to eat more than they want to do their own thing, And it seems like there's a lot of these entrepreneurial venture kind of guys out there.
I would argue that some of these people want to do their own thing more than they want to eat well. The problem is that if they're gonna sacrifice food for doing, they're only gonna do if it's their thing, not anyone else's.
Exactly,
thing.
that's what I said. I'll do my own thing, and I'll do my own thing with money I save up. And if you want to just give me money, okay. But if you give me not money, what you're not giving me anything. I don't know, but I think that a lot of these people are just sort of like they just sort of misrepresent what entrepreneurism is about, and they sort of like they're scamming a lot of tech people in a lot of ways. Like they get someone's like believe in the dream, like we can work and be awesome all day and not have to work for the man, and basically I'll pay you nothing. And
it's really easy to get those people straight.
I'll pay
out of
you
university.
nothing, and then there's pretty much a 1 out of 100 chance that we'll actually get anywhere. There's a 1 out of a 10 million chance that will become Facebook or Google.
See, if someone
let's go for
if
it.
someone had
it's
approached
like,
me,
buy some lottery tickets, kid.
If someone had approached me with something like that, like right as I was about to graduate from RIT, I probably would have been like, "Hell's yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, I'll work for my parents' house.
But no,
whatever.
IBM approached me after RIT and said, "Here's money."
Yeah,
and I said, "Thanks for the money. I will do things in return for it."
Yep. So
and here I am now.
It's like at the same time, with these entrepreneurs, I share the common desire to, be your own person, own your own company, do your own thing, work from home, work how you want to work, not work the way the man wants you to work 9 to 5 behind a desk in a cube. But I have rent and I like to eat. And unless you give me money, go home.
I will admit, I think
if you want to be an entrepreneur and you need tech people, my suggestion to you, get like $100,000, find a tech person, give them the entire $100,000 all at once, and that person will probably just work for you for 1 or 2 years.
Or disappear.
Or in 5
years say, yeah, it didn't work. I need another $100,000.
That's fine. But, the point is that give them money enough that they won't do it, and then they will do the thing that you want them to do. Or if you think, if you're just a business person, right, and you're having trouble because all the good tech people only want to work on their own ideas, just give the tech person the money and let them do their own idea, and they'll give you all the equity you want because that ain't worth shit. On the off chance that it actually, makes money, you basically, all you did was give some guy money. You didn't have to do any work, and if it works out, you're bank. And you know what? With the scenario that they want to do in the first place, it would be the same thing. So what's the difference, right?
What is interesting is back when we lived in Beacon, and then when I was thinking about buying that house, or if I'd bought the house up there, I would have been much more able and willing to do some sort of, stop working for the man and just do like Geeknights or something like that.
Yeah, but
100%.
I wasn't willing to do it any differently, in terms of not having money to eat.
Oh, I'm saying like I was much more able to do that because my substantial savings and everything together, I could go for a while without a job if I wanted to, or with only a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
But by choosing to move into the city instead, I mean, living in New York, we lead a very luxurious lifestyle.
Here's the thing is,
which costs a lot of money to maintain, and like the baseline money I need to maintain my comfortable lifestyle is much, much higher now.
But here's what I don't understand, right? In San Francisco ain't cheap. Right? It's not like you can live there for $10.
I think a lot of the people who do this stuff live outside in the burbs and commute in, work from home.
That's even less cheap. The burbs in Silicon Valley are mad monies.
Further out?
How far out? I didn't even know the geography that far out.
I imagine telecommuting in shitty conditions.
Where are these people like living, and how much are they paying for rent that they're willing to work for equity and not money?
Plus, how many of them are there really who aren't just trust fund babies?
It's true. And how skilled are they?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, New York kind of chews you up and spits you out.
I just want
to
understand the mentality of these people. Are they just being scammed by these venture people, or are they just really, I don't know, do they not care about eating? Are they willing to live in squalor in a slum or something? I don't know.
A lot of people who have succeeded were willing to live in squalor. That is one option to success. If we lived in Beacon in squalor, like 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 ramen for dinner all the time and never eating
We'd be
out
dead already.
and not going to conventions.
We'd be dead already.
Maybe, or fat.
Dead and fat.
I mean, look, the Dwarf Fortress guy, he lives off of the paltry donations from Dwarf Fortress.
I don't think they're that paltry.
But I don't think they maintain the lifestyle that we demand these days.
Well, he also lives where the cost of living is much lower.
Which is one thing you do. Beacon, real cheap to live in.
Well, we could live even cheaper if we had to.
The mortgage on that 5-bedroom house was substantially cheaper than the rent on this place.
Yeah.
So speaking of upstart venture capital and entrepreneurialism and all that stuff, Twitter had a problem, and it's a problem that's kind of hilarious. You all missed the boat to have fun with this, but apparently, I don't know how long this was the case. If you just tweeted accept and then someone's @name in Twitter, they followed you, and there was nothing they could do about it. They could go unfollow you, but they were now following you.
I guess is that how Twitter like worked under the hood? Is like basically it sent tweets and certain tweets that you would send. Or maybe like certain SMS, maybe it's like an SMS command, right? So if you're doing Twitter over SMS, right, you have to type in, command. You basically have to send texts to Twitter.
And goddamn, if I wouldn't have sort of encrypted hashes and like special command codes and rotating keys and all that stuff.
Yeah, and apparently, right, so those commands just allowed you to control Twitter by tweeting. And so those tweets obviously wouldn't get tweeted, but they would tell Twitter to do things.
Well, it's funny because Twitter, like, they haven't said.
And they just coded it real shitty like.
I don't believe they've said, where, if the problem had always been there or what. But the accusations I've seen are that, one, there were shady companies who knew about this and were basically selling followers. Because they knew how to do it. And the other accusation that's much more interesting, but also much more conspiratorial, and I don't believe it because, frankly, Occam's razor, it's just coded shittily.
Yeah,
that's the razor.
It's definitely coded
but
shittily.
What people are alleging, which is an interesting idea because it brings up kind of the whole root issue of Twitter lately, is that maybe this is a feature they were building and they screwed up and exposed it to everyone, because there's a lot of talk about monetizing Twitter nowadays.
Well, they have the sponsored tweets.
Yeah, but sponsored tweets and all that sort of stuff, I'm the kind of person where the moment, there's a bomb that has not yet fallen on Twitter. The day I'm looking at my timeline and there's a tweet that was not retweeted by anyone I know that is in my timeline that I did not follow, that is basically a nuclear weapon going off in Twitter. Because people like me disappear immediately.
Yeah, pretty much.
Either that or we write things to figure out where they come from and block them.
Yep.
So I can't imagine how Twitter can ever monetize.
That's the thing I understand, right? If I have a Twitter client, right, the Twitter client gets tweets, it could just not display those tweets in my timeline. There's nothing they can. How are they going to disguise it?
Well, that's why I don't think this is exactly what was going on. I mean, I think the way they're going to monetize in the end is going to be some mishmash of selling trending and analytics and selling clients. And basically, they're going to do all the stuff that right now, they built Twitter and it didn't do much. Like, it did what it did and that was it. And a lot of people made entire businesses just off of selling all the things that Twitter didn't do by doing it for Twitter, like doing analytics. I think Twitter's just going to start doing all that on their own a million times better.
Yeah, well,
put all those people out of business, which is fine.
Well, that's what Microsoft does, right? They put out something like Visual Studio. So some other company makes a Visual Studio plugin, and then some companies buy the Visual Studio plugin because, oh man, they need it so bad. And then what does Microsoft do? They include the features of the plugin in Visual Studio. The other company goes out of business, right? This is how things work in the plugin market. When you build on someone else's platform, right, there's always the risk that the people who make the platform are just going to make you redundant and you're going to be screwed, which is why you don't want to build on someone else's platform. You want to build on your own platform or be your own platform or be platform independent. Like what if you make a platforming game for the Wii, and then the same month Nintendo comes out with a platforming game that's better than yours. It's like, oh, fuck me, right?
Yep.
You're done.
And the thing is, you knew Nintendo existed. You knew they were capable of it. You basically said, I know there is someone else out there who can do what I'm doing right now 1,000 times better and beat me in every way.
But if you made a platforming game for Wii, Xbox, PS3, PC, and everything, right, then you'd be all right.
I mean, basically, I think any company whose business model is based in any way on Twitter that isn't themselves Twitter is fucked. Just completely. I think that's the whole way of monetization. So a little advice to all of you out there who might be working unpaid for one of these things. It ain't going anywhere. But it is interesting because someone on Slashdot, this big, insightful post was the suggestion that you would stop using Twitter because it somehow started introducing spam is laughable. Has spam stopped you from using email?
It would have if I didn't have a spam filter.
In fact, I stopped using email. We all stopped using email at RIT. We used IM, and we started using email again when Gmail came out and spam disappeared again.
Yep.
I mean, even my RIT email address was useless at RIT because I got spam constantly.
I had spam filter.
I made
and
one.
Thunderbird.
I didn't use Thunderbird. I set one up on my the spooler and everything.
I use Thunderbird.
Yeah, on the open, not
Man,
not
who's
the bags.
using Thunderbird these days?
Because you don't need to. Webmail is king.
Yep.
Webmail and phone mail, which is basically webmail on a phone. But
maybe I should try to set up Thunderbird, hook it up to my Gmail, see what it looks like.
But basically, this Twitter thing is interesting because immediately half the people I see on the internet are freaking out like, oh no, they accidentally revealed the stuff they're doing to monetize Twitter. They're going to send us spam tweets. And there's absolutely no way that would ever happen. Of course, it's fun to speculate what would happen if that did happen. Because I think, here's my timeline. 0 hour, a spam tweet goes to everyone on Twitter. The next 10 minutes, 1,000 open source developers join in and try to make Laconica not be shitty.
It sucks.
15 minutes later, they all give up on that. 4 days later, someone else reveals a whole new thing.
People just use Google Buzz and Facebook and whatever.
But then someone will jump in and do a whole thing that does basically what Twitter does, but they'll cut off the baggage that is, integrating with SMS. Scott and I were talking about this before the show, and, I came up with this whole scheme. I was thinking about what I would do to make Twitter better. And I think the best way to do it is to hook in a lot more interesting metadata.
Twitter's already doing that.
But the way I came up with a scheme basically just for it was a thought exercise for me of how to let that be backward compatible with SMS. And my scheme involving multiple SMSs and a protocol for requesting the metadata within the characters set within an SMS worked pretty well, but it increased the, SMS message overhead by about 50 to 60%, on average, which for people who don't have unlimited text plans, fail. But as Scott pointed out, why don't we just bail on SMS entirely? And I feel like there's a point in time where someone is going to be able to do what Twitter does. And all I would add to make Twitter awesome is drop SMS and let messages be any size and kind of just scale it up by removing those limitations of 144 characters and let people set their own filters and scales and have some sort of radius. So you can say like, these people are 4 radius from me and these people are 8 radius from me. You have like this expanding, contracting circle. And then you tweet and you say what radius you want it to go out to. So it replaces that whole protected tweet bullshit. And you can have basically you can separate secretly your real friends from your fake friends, from the people who follow you, from the internet as a whole. And just you could basically...
The thing is, it's already far too complicated for anyone to use. The reason Twitter is successful and works, and the reason Facebook is because it's brainless.
Exactly.
Right?
But I want to give you, Scott, the example of Dig.
I mean, people can't even use threaded comments. That's why flat comments are the king, and threads are fail.
Here's why this is the awesome thing. Dig was awesome before it was popular among people who aren't like us. Dig was great back then. It was a really great way to find stuff. And then when it became popular among the masses because it was so simple, it became a Ron Paul shitstorm. And it remains so to this day. Mm-hmm. Twitter is the same way because it's so dumb, so simple, so popular. It's just a sea of garbage. Imagine if all the geeks had their own Twitter that did everything Twitter did and did all the awesome stuff that only geeks would use. But then at the very end of it, it had the option of, and send whatever I'm doing at this level to Twitter. And pull in, have an API for it to interact with Twitter. You can still publish to the idiots and get a filtered feed from the idiots. But otherwise, you have this massively powerful tool that does what Buzz should have done.
No, it's not gonna work.
Why not?
Because people, the power of the tool, you're thinking that the value of Twitter or Facebook or anything is the technology itself. It doesn't matter what features you have as long as people can use it. The only feature that they can offer is the number of people that are signed up, and unless you already have people signed up, it's it. It doesn't matter. You can have the best possible technology in the universe, right, for this sort of thing, and you figured out everything perfectly. And Twitter is still the same as it was when it was first released, crashing every day, piece of shit, right? You put yours up, Twitter already exists. Twitter already has 1 million people. You can't win. You're zero. You can't. There's no way.
It depends, though, because there were always things like that. Then Twitter appeared, and at first, only nerds used it. People
Twitter was
jumped
the
in.
first one
No, I'm saying trends of like
that
Dig.
had a bunch of people.
Dig was, when it came in, there was a lot of early adopters there for a long time, but it wasn't that big of a community at all.
Yeah, so
you could make something that could succeed, that could have enough critical mass to become useful.
Dig wasn't competing with anything.
I would argue that it was originally competing with things like Slashdot.
Not really. I mean, where there wasn't any actual democratic, news site. It was the only one.
Well, Corrosion.
That's not a news site.
It was an aggregator.
No, it wasn't.
There was
It was a site for fiction.
It was not just fiction. There was a lot of nonfiction written there. In fact, that was mostly what I read on Corrosion back in the day.
It was for writing. It was not news.
Yeah, but it was still an aggregator of content from people.
It was not a huge pile of links every day. It was like a whole blob of text, one every few days. Not even close to what Dig is. It's not even remotely in the same category.
So this is. I'm just saying that I think you're just overly cynical about the possibility of a more powerful thing that does similar things to what Twitter does working.
You couldn't get it. No one would join it. How are you going to start it off?
Just do it and see if people come.
Google did it. No one came.
Because Google did it half-assedly and shittily.
So it doesn't matter. There have been plenty of people who come off and did it not shittily, and no one uses them.
Who?
What do you mean?
Who's done anything like that?
The
non-shittily?
Jaiku totally failed.
Yeah, Jaiku was crappy.
No, Jaiku was technologically vastly superior to Twitter in every conceivable fashion.
But it did. I have a feature, but for me personally, I mean, if you want to argue this, that's fine. But I have a feature list of things that if they were there, I would use, even if they're the only one using it.
All right, that's you.
All right,
it's not getting. There's no point in using something if no one else is using it.
Well, basically,
it's like I'm gonna go. Oh man, this IRC chat room is so great. Yeah, there's no one in it. Well, but it has all these great features like logging and all.
But Scott, what about our private forum? No one uses that but our friends, and yet it's super useful to us and our friends.
I actually really don't like that everyone uses that, and I wish that people would use more correct technology.
Like what? How am I gonna tell everyone in the group, in the entire crew, hey, we're having a party on this day?
You can send an email
to everybody. I don't even have all their email addresses, and half the people don't read their email.
You can create a Google Calendar event and then invite everybody.
And no one uses their Google calendars.
That's so now you're agreeing with my point is that the technology that people use, it doesn't matter
but part
if
of the reason they
calendar is vastly superior
Scott,
to the forum.
No, it's not, because the calendar doesn't give me an easy way to post a date and then have a discussion about if the date's good.
It absolutely does.
How am I going to send an invite to everyone and then what? We're going to have an email chain discussion?
It works.
That's a really kind of shitty way to go about it.
How is it shitty?
Because it's not, one, it's push instead of pull. I can't just go to the forum and check the status. It doesn't, email chains.
I mean, you go to your email, you check the status. It's no different.
I disagree. I think it's annoying.
You go to the calendar, you click on the event, you check the status. What's different? There's nothing that's different about it.
But my calendar, so the status of what? In my Google Calendar?
Yeah.
What status are you talking about? I'd have to read the discussion and see, what people have said, but it's not going to say, like, now the event's on, now the event's off, unless I manually do that.
It'll be deleted from the calendar or moved or
But I'm the one who made it,
canceled.
so I'm the one who has to do all that manually.
So you have to do the same thing by making a post in a forum.
Yeah, but
What's the difference?
But then the discussion is there, and people, I think it's a better space for interacting and deciding what we're going to actually do. Throw a little poll up.
The calendar is technologically vastly superior to just using a flat forum discussion.
I don't think it
for
is
these sorts of things.
Because I have to shoehorn.
Yeah, right? Where
Scott,
you going
I disagree
where the
with
people
you.
are.
I disagree with
it's
you.
Where the people are.
No, I disagree with you 100% on that, because the calendar does not implement it very well.
The calendar is implemented fantastically.
So I got to make the calendar thing, and then I got to make sure I have an up-to-date list of the email addresses of every single person I want to have any.
The only reason you don't have that is because you don't use the contacts.
Even if I use
because there's
them,
no people there. It's people have to be there.
I have everyone's
These things work fantastically if people use them, but why aren't they working? Because people aren't using them.
But then,
it doesn't matter what
Scott,
features you have. You need people to use it. That's all you need.
Scott, so I've got a list of all the contacts. Then we make a new friend. I got to go update that shit.
You got to update that shit anyway.
No, I don't. I just make a forum post. Everyone's always in there. Anyone new is just automatically in the forum.
What you have to add them to be in see the secret threads though. It's the same shit.
Nah, that's a lot easier to maintain than an email list because people's email addresses change.
Just like Twitter is really much easier than a very complicated system of radiuses and all this sorts of fancy stuff that you want.
Yeah.
And that's another reason that the easy thing that's brain dead and has the people will always beat the fancy system with all the features that doesn't have the people.
I think a better way to go about it, at least for someone like me, what I want is you have the brain dead and you have the advanced mode. ICQ did that very well back in the day when IM was still new. There's AOL, IM, and ICQ. And what ICQ did is they had basic mode by default, which was brain dead simple IM. And no fancy stuff, and everything was real simple. But if you were smart and you wanted to do all the crazy stuff, and it had a lot of crazy functionality, awesome stuff that IM clients today actually
Like what?
It had one before AOL had it. It had online, offline messaging, queued messaging. You could schedule messages in and out. You could be invisible and still see people.
It was just email.
It was kind of in between email and IM.
What was the only thing different about it was the user interface. It had absolutely no other differences whatsoever.
Because you could transition, you could have an email chain that just becomes a chat. You couldn't do that with the old clients easily.
It does. It's not any. It's just the user interface was different. Everything was actually just an instant message.
Yeah.
You're just changing the user interface. There wasn't actually any advanced functionality. It was the same exact functionality provided in a different way. You're just looking at it different.
No,
oh my God, they put it in a bigger window. Therefore, it's an email. Oh, but now it's in a small
Scott,
window. So
they
it's
also
a chat.
hid a lot of stuff from the simple users, like file transfers and setting up dedicated rooms and all this stuff. Basically,
all
you
that
turn
stuff
on the
everyone else has. That's nothing AOL didn't have.
back then.
AOL had
Messenger didn't.
AOL had chat rooms before ICQ had chat rooms.
Chat rooms, but that was in AOL.
Yeah, Instant Messenger was also originally in AOL.
I know, and ICQ was for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're so adversarial.
Because you're spouting bullshit. I can't let you get away with that. You're saying things that ain't true.
Because
you haven't named a single feature that ICQ had that nothing else had.
Back then, file transfer, direct file transfer.
AOL had file transfer before AIM was outside of AOL, and when AIM went outside of AOL,
which was
had
useless
file transfer.
to anyone who didn't have AOL. It was hidden behind a walled garden.
Yeah, and when AIM was outside of AOL, it had file transfer also. File transfer was always there. Name something else. You got nothing.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
You don't even, but you said ICQ had all these features, but clearly you can't even remember a single one of them.
All right, I'll go back. It's been like a decade. I'll have to go.
So why are you making claims you don't even remember? You're just making shit
because
up.
they had an advanced mode and a simple mode. They hid all the complexity.
The advanced mode, all it did was show you all these different menu options. Didn't actually have any functionality.
Oh, so there's
that
nothing
no one
in
else
there?
had.
There was
oh my
nothing in
God,
there
a
at
whole
all?
bunch of menu options appeared that let me set my profile in crap. ICQ did not do anything differently. It was only had user interface differences that made it appear and feel as if it was more advanced functionality. As terms of instant messaging, it was exactly the same as everything else, except it made you use a number, so it was harder, and it made you feel cool when you had a number that only had a few digits in it instead of a whole bunch of digits like everyone else.
You'll feel really stupid when I pull up the old ICQ client and look at what was actually in there.
So much fancy stuff in there.
But what's wrong with the idea of having a simple mode and a complex mode? Twitter, simple Twitter just works exactly like current Twitter. You turn on the advanced mode, it gives you all this extra stuff if you want to use it. Having multiple groups of friends, deciding, this tweet will only go out to these friends, but this tweet is public.
The problem with that is that it's inevitably going to cause conflicts. If you are interacting with some simple mode users, it's not going to work so well.
There are easy ways around that.
Give
me an example of a problem.
You've put all this metadata on something, but they don't see metadata because they're in simple mode where it just shows them the posts, and they don't.
Yeah.
So now, but you're discussing something that's in the metadata, like some attached GPS coordinate photos, something. They don't even see it, and you're talking about it, and they totally miss out. They don't get it.
Yeah, that's
They're
fine.
like, what the fuck is this?
Because if you're interacting with simple, people with a simple client, it'll just hide that all from them, and they won't know, and they won't care.
But it's not hidden because you're discussing it in the part that they do see.
Well, that's just because you're stupid in that case.
But the thing is, most of these people are stupid.
Yeah, and
That's what all the users are. Those same stupid users
Scott,
are the ones that are adding the value to the system. That's the reason you're there.
I don't tweet at or interact with any of those people.
That's what I'm saying that's you. We're talking about the success of the system, not what Rim wants.
Yeah, but I think there's a room for a system that caters to people like me.
Yes,
system.
exactly. We'll have one user, Rim.
I think more people would use a more powerful Twitter.
It'll
than
have
just
5
me.
users, Rim, and the 5 people like Rim that Rim didn't know yet.
All right.
And everyone else will actually be getting use out of a system that is much, much less technologically capable and is brain dead, but is useful because there are actually people on it.
Except it's not useful, and I ignore the vast majority of people on Twitter.
It's not useful to you, but guess
Yeah,
what?
it's
not. So then why do you just don't use it at all? Don't use anything. Because you're either going to have something that's not useful to you because there's a bunch of brain dead people, or something where there's no one on it.
No, Twitter's useful in very specific situations, partly because I have such a very strong filter of information in it. I only see tweets from a very small number of people, and there are people who are actually, like at a convention, the tweets are useful. And outside of that, I basically just post stuff for the listeners, and I really don't read tweets.
Yeah. So why do you want something that's all fancy? Just so you can read tweets that you don't want to read?
Because I would actually start using it to publish information toward other sources of, other data receivers out in my life that I currently don't use Twitter for because it's not powerful enough.
How is it not powerful enough?
Because I can't have my private ring of tweets that goes out to a group of people easily, like tweet all my friends versus tweet this with the clients I have now. I want radii.
Why do you want to keep your shit secret?
I don't want to give the address of a party out to the listeners if we're just going to go to a party with our friends.
So why that's not Twitter's for.
Yeah, but it'd be useful to have, get rid of email and all these things, just kind of have one way where I just take a piece of information and toss it in the pipe with simple directions of, I wanted to go to these people, maybe my friends, maybe the listeners, whoever, and it just goes out over all the different pipes and all the different ways to whoever it wants it or should get it based on my initial directives.
But there's no way. See, the thing is, at this point in time, there isn't really any reason to even have any restrictions whatsoever because, okay, I tweet something to just my friends only. And then the friend retweets it and now the whole world sees it. So what's the point?
That's fine if they do that. That's trust. That's the whole all technology, all chains of trust fail if you trust someone who fails
But
to trust.
the thing is, you just might as well make everything go out to the whole world. This is why all these people who are going crazy, like leaving Facebook over privacy shit. I'm like, fuck, everything on Facebook should be 100% public. There should be zero private data. If you want to be private, don't type it in anywhere. That's how I say it.
So you think it'd be a good
be.
idea to open up our private forum with all our stuff in there?
Oh no, what are people gonna find in there? Oh my god, they're playing Burning Wheel on Saturday. Oh shit.
You don't think it would be annoying at all for everyone out there to have, all of our phone numbers, email addresses, our actual phone numbers, our actual email addresses.
If you didn't want people
stuff?
to find it out, why'd you type it in?
Because no one's republishing it.
What do I care if people can know my phone number? What are they gonna do? They're gonna call me?
They might.
I dare them to call me.
All right. So why don't you just put your phone number out there on the forum and see what happens?
All right. My phone number is 646-416-1895. Don't call me.
Why not? They can call you all you want. It's not illegal.
If you bother me, I'll call the police if you're harassing me. If you have a legitimate reason to call me, go ahead.
Scott, basically any reason to call you is legitimate unless they repeatedly call you after you tell them to stop. So if 1 million people call you once per day, there's nothing you can do about that.
I'll just get a new number.
And then you're going to publish that number?
Why not?
And then the same thing happens? You can never use the phone again?
It'll be pretty awesome because what I'll do is if 1 million people continue to call me day after changing my number even once and they never stop, I can turn that into something. I'll be like the calls to Scott, and I'll make a whole website about it. It'd be fucking awesome.
Plus, Scott, part of the reason that our internal forum, our discussions work is that we don't have outside people just butting in, saying stuff that we don't care about, spamming it up.
This is why I think the forum is the incorrect usage for that sort of thing, and that's why I would much rather.
So, what would you suggest for public discussions just among our friends?
A public discussion,
it's public among our friends. It's private for the rest of the world. What would you, for, small discussions?
I don't have a reason to keep anything private. I would just, make everything public. I don't care.
You really don't think that would be annoying at all?
What would be annoying?
Just like random kids on the internet start, getting in the way of our thread when we're trying to make our characters.
I just scroll past it.
All right, so you're going to scroll past like thousands of posts of penises and all that?
Where there aren't even thousands of posts of penises in the regular
Because we already
thread.
don't let people in. We already have a very high filter.
I approve everyone who applies.
Yeah.
Unless they're spam. That's not there to keep people out I don't like. It's there to keep out spam.
So anyway, things of the day.
Oh man, you're not going to believe this thing of the day.
I'm not?
No,
what
so
do you
check
got?
this out. This lady, she's got this blog, Mad Shabbatol's blog, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's a blog that's about one thing, the dollhouse that she is making. The dollhouse that is a pretty much perfect bag end. My handcrafted Lord of the Rings dollhouse.
I saw that on Fark.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it, though. Is it actually high quality?
It's pretty much as high quality as it can possibly imaginably be.
What scale?
It's dollhouse scale.
Which there's multiple dollhouse scales.
I have no. What do you think I am, a dollhouse expert?
Like, is it standard and Western or is it Imperial?
It's like, little tiny shit, like little tiny Hobbit dishes.
American freestyle? I mean, you're like railroad.
Why do you know about dollhouses, Rim? How did you learn all this?
Actually, American freestyle is from Penny Arcade.
I know.
Yeah.
The point is
But
that
like the railroad gauges, there's like H gauge and O gauge and double Z gauge.
the point is that this lady is like a pretty good looking, like, mommy lady right there. Me with Hobbit house. Look at the lady.
Not bad.
Right? So my all I gotta say is if like you're 20 something and you're gonna grow up to be that lady, call me. I already have my number.
So I had a couple of things, but this was cool because we saw it not that long ago, so it was present in the mind, some confirmation bias. When we were at PAX and Anime Boston, we hung out with our friend Steve, who works at MIT, and when we went to visit him,
Why are you giving away these secrets?
we stopped at the Kendall T Stop. The T is basically Boston's bus subway that's underground, and mostly. And they had in it this whole huge art exhibit that was basically instruments that you could manipulate from the platform that would then play like notes and do cool stuff and basically annoy all the commuters. And it was a very old sculpture, very intricate, that had been broken for some time now. And that was cool. Remember, we talked actually to Steve about this and like, yeah, it's kind of broken. We got one to work. The Thunder, I think, was the one we got to work. And I remember saying, oh, it's sad. Someone should rebuild that thing. And sure enough, a bunch of students at MIT at the rapid fabrication lab and all this stuff, a rapid prototyping lab.
Oh, that's what we saw that.
Yeah. They got together and they're rebuilding all the instruments.
I love that. That's one thing that constantly bothers me is when you see like ruins of things out and about, especially like you go to a science museum and there's an exhibit that doesn't work.
Yep.
Or you go to the arcade and there's a game that
Go to
doesn't
the roller
work.
coaster park and you see the abandoned mine ride that a kid died in a long time
fuck
ago.
me. Those are the worst.
Remember at Wildwood, there was the Barrel of Fun?
Or even like right here, you get the Queensboro Bridge and there's the elevator lift that no longer operates.
Oh, man, I just want to ride that elevator.
Yeah, you got all these. I hate it when things stop operating. It's like Rochester Subway, right?
Yeah,
if
of course,
make
we explored the Rochester subway at least.
Yeah, but I mean, if you got something, right, and you make it, it's like you gotta keep, go to the World's Fair and they got all this stuff. It just doesn't, it's like keep the shit in repair. So when someone repairs something that was disrepaired, that's awesome. That's like made of win. If I was the mayor of New York, I would just have a World's Fair just so I could get over the fact that all that shit's in disrepair.
Well, it says something about how, as dense as our human population is, especially in places like New York, at the same time how sparse it is, that you go like 20 minutes north in the Bronx and there are like gigantic, just abandoned rail yards and abandoned factory houses all over the place. Mm-hmm. Even in one of the densest and most, like the biggest cities in the world, there's just abandoned stuff all over the place that we can't even fill this little tiny space we've got.
Yep. Anyway.
So the original point of this show, I guess we'll have to call this show.
How long did we use?
Like 44 minutes.
Fuck me.
Maybe we shouldn't even talk about antivirus.
I don't know. We got to redo the opening bit.
Yeah,
then.
we can redo the opening bit, some post hoc. Well, it's built. We already did redo it, Bill and Ted style.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this show was actually about what? What did we do the show on?
I don't know. Was it like friggin' why you can't beat Twitter with fancy features and also why privacy is unnecessary?
Well, I guess we did that in the news. We kind of disagreed. Scott's got a love line set up now. So call Layman Scott if you've got any questions.
Or
any
if
concerns.
you have boobs. Boobs should also call. Not if you are a boob, but if you are in possession of them.
Wow, I haven't used the word boob as a pejorative like that in a long time.
And if you have the blue-footed boobs, also call. We would like to do some sort of animal show. It would be fun.
You know what? I think the first half of the show speaks for itself, even though you listeners sadly missed out on the fact that we argued for like another half hour.
Hey, the Ustream people got it.
Yeah, but no one else
In fact, we recorded the Ustream, right?
I believe so.
So if you go to Ustream, you can watch the recording
We'll get
of
it
the whole
there.
thing.
Well, right into the meta moment. We've
Shit,
got a
meta
Ustream.
moment.
We've got a Ustream channel that we've started. For those of you who don't know or don't pay attention, we've started kind of whenever we record the show and we think to, we turn on a camera and you can kind of watch us record the show live and You get to hear.
It's really boring because
It
all you
is.
do is you watch us laying. You basically look at a picture of us that barely moves.
Well, it's funny. You see Scott laying, like lounging on this couch.
scratching my feet. You know.
Yep. And meanwhile, I'm in like my
Doing
work
whatever.
clothes. I'm wearing like a sport jacket and I got the mixer and I'm sitting in my air-on chair.
Yep.
But I'm facing away from the camera.
And you basically watch this while you hear the exact same thing you're hearing now.
Yep. The only difference is you get to hear things like when we stop, like between the first half of the show and the second half of the show, we'll stop and be like, man, I gotta go.
We'll stop
get a
and have like
drink."
a 40-minute discussion.
Yeah. Or we'll say, what are we doing the show on? You'll get some of the pre-show. We try to figure out what the show's going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
Get some post-show. Sometimes you see the studio audience.
Yeah.
Oh, you can actually see the noise gates kicking in and the downward expander kicking in on the compressor.
Yeah.
It's going in real time there. Those red flashing things, like right down there.
Okay. Oh, Cosmos is still the book. I actually bought a copy on Amazon for 65 cents.
I'll be ready.
It isn't here yet, but you know.
As soon as you finish it, or I've read enough of it, I'll be ready to go because I'm just reading parts that I remembered vaguely as a kid again.
Far too slowly.
Yeah, I'm working on stuff and playing video games.
I'm also playing video games, but I'm also reading and working on stuff.
I'm also Kineticon's taking up most of my time, to be honest.
You didn't give me any of the load to bear.
Because there's no easy way to collaborate. I started writing, making a database that I'm going to use to make collaboration easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but all that aside, I guess we can finish out the show on something fun.
What do you want to finish out on?
So there was a story on Slashdot about monitors, Quattro monitors that added a fourth color pixel in the sub-pixel level. So instead of just RGB,
So it's like the opposite of the Nexus 1 that has green, red, blue, green, where it has like the double greens.
Yep. Instead, it's green, red, blue, yellow.
Why is there a yellow for?
Because it gives you a wider.
You can make yellow by using.
Basically, it gives you a wider like spectrum of total possible colors you can show. Like the RGB that we use in CRTs and LCDs cannot show every possible color.
All right.
And independent of that, our human eyes fail us. And there are certain real colors, perfect wavelengths, that due to the fact that like a blue will like excite a couple of red cones in the eye and stuff like that, we cannot by default see those colors anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this awesome site. This would normally be a thing of the day. There's a whole bunch of like optical illusions, those kinds of sites, but all of them illustrate a point as opposed to just being cool. And the one that I want to point out, I'll just bring this up. We're talking about displays randomly. The eclipse of Mars. And if you do this debate, if you do this illusion, it basically tires out the red receptors in a portion of your vision. And then when you pull your head back, you will see a halo around this red ring that is true perfect cyan.
Mm-hmm.
You will see the cyan, and it shows it next to a gradient, showing you that this color cannot be displayed by your monitor, even though it should because it's a real color. Mm-hmm. And you will see a color you have probably never seen before. It's pretty damn cyan, I must say.
So what if we just made monitors that were CMYK?
Well,
Right.
CMYK, I mean that's the color
K.
release
The
for print.
K is the light behind the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's also additive versus subtractive. Maybe we should do a physics show on light and pigments because
People cannot just look this up on Wikipedia.
I don't know. I feel, of course, at the same time, I don't think a radio show about that is going to be super enlightening to anyone.
That is kind of interesting. Like if you go to the store to buy LEDs, right? You can get green, red, blue, white LEDs. I guess you can get purpley ones, but
Yep.
I don't really see like cyan. Well, I guess they have yellow, right? But
Well, we could talk about, you see that a lot in stage lights.
oh, it's true.
You'll have the different
You're
sets,
right.
but
But
that's 'cause you-
those are just white lights with translucent filters in front of them.
Well, that's because it's cheaper and easier to make color that way than
Yeah,
it is to...
really? You don't say.
I
The
mean,
thing is, you think about it, right? You're actually using a fuck ton more energy with that sort of system because you're making pretty much every wavelength of light, right, with this huge freaking light bulb.
And then you're turning it on
and then
and
you're
heat.
you're turning it on the heat, and and most of those wavelengths of light you're not even using. If you could make a light that was just the color you wanted, like just yellow, you would use a lot less energy than a white light with a yellow filter in front of it. Is that it?
I don't know. I had nothing else there.
But maybe we can save a lot of energy on monitors if we.
Yeah. Well, maybe displays too. But part of the reason I bring that up is I remember a lot of discussions in the forum where an unnamed friend of ours bought a bunch of cheap LCDs compared to the Ultra Sharp.
We explained that this was a bad idea.
But even the Ultra Sharp, I mean, it can't show every color. And
it can show 16.7 million colors. Your eyes just can't see them.
But there are more colors than that 16 point whatever million.
Technically, they're infinity colors because you can break the wavelengths.
No, there aren't, because quanta. The way they're discrete wavelengths that you can't be smaller than.
So what is the smallest possible wavelength?
If I try to even answer that question at all, Timo's gonna have the biggest palm to forehead reaction that the world's ever seen. He, in fact, would probably.
Are you sure you're not wrong already?
He would probably, in fact, already cause a further eruption of I can't pronounce the name of the volcano. But what I'm going to say, and I hope I am not too wrong, is that it probably is in some way related to Planck's constant.
Okay.
Because that's the smallest distance that makes sense.
Anyway, the point is that
there isn't, I don't think, infinite divisibility.
It doesn't matter, because even if you have more than 16.7 million colors, you can't see more than 16.7 million colors.
Well, according to this, we can't even see basic colors like cyan perfectly. So it raises an interesting question, though, because look, the limitation is not necessarily my brain. The limitation is the shitty physical nerves I've got that are processing this, reflected electron information.
Well, we already know that mine are a lot better than yours.
I would argue that with my glasses, mine is better.
No.
Why not? It gives me 20/10 vision. The only defect is in my lens.
Let's get some eye test going on. We'll see who wins.
I actually paid.
Dude, that would be a great video game. Eye test battle.
You'd make that in Flash. People might cheat.
Oh, yeah. How are you going to prevent cheating?
Make them use a webcam and then figure out how far away they are and then make the images sized accordingly.
I don't know. How would you? That's actually an interesting problem. How would you make a video game that is the eye test game?
You know what? You could do the same thing that fancy window did, where you could have a fake window in your house, and if you wear a necklace that tells the window where you are, it makes a perfect 3D scene outside.
Oh, so basically, if you tried to get close to your TV screen to cheat,
it just makes it get smaller.
No, because what you do is you just put the necklace far on the other side of the room and then walk up to the TV.
Yeah, well, I was saying you could do it with a camera, but then I'll use a cardboard cutout of my face, like in 3 Men and a Baby.
Yes.
So then you have to do an IR sensor. Then I put a heat pack behind the cardboard cutout of the face.
But it would that might actually be the best solution, because the heat pack would not be the right shape of a person. So if your IR imaging sensor,
I get my friend to stand in front of the computer while I stand back.
But it would see that there's two people, so it would turn off. It could only be one person.
I stand directly behind him, and I look at the screen from an angle above.
Then
it would
detect double heat, though.
Behind a shield, a thermal blocking shield.
Oh, fuck. If you had a big rectangular thermal shield, you could hide behind it and then look at the screen with a mirror, right? While your friend was standing on the other side of the room, making it think he was far away to display it at the largest possible size.
For all this, we could just make a proctor go to your house, sign in with an RSA key, and watch your ass. That is a way to make 3D displays, though. If you only have one person watching, it's really easy to make a great 3D display.
How so?
Tracking head movement.
Oh, yeah. Of
course, we've seen stuff that does that already.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
do we have
I don't
anything
know.
else? This show is like one of the worst shows. Oh, my God.
I don't know. We're going all over the place. I mean, we've done things that we haven't done in a long time that you guys always ask for. One, we had an argument about bullshit, and then we went off on a tangent.
Okay.
I think we're done.
I guess that, we didn't have any ideas coming into the show, so that shows you what happens.
Yeah.
In that kind of bad situation.
It's all good. We'll wrap it up. I think we got a decent Wednesday show coming up.
Mm-hmm.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.